At the end of every unit, your teacher has a chance to teach a lesson with other lessons in their content to enhance. What do you suppose our teacher has us do? He skips a lesson and makes us present a digital LEQ. LEQ needs historical evidence, reasoning that can corroborate and advance. A thesis that Dr. J.P. Ayers would admire. Then we drop the screencast like a single that is fire. Zoom created screencast for you to like, subscribe, and share. We know you've had all the John Green that you can bear. We get the most views by 10 Eastern on the 5th day. That guarantees an A. Without much more fanfare or ado, we present our digital LEQ. I'm keeping that one. I don't care. Oh wait, that's in the recording. Okay. Yeah, hello, and welcome to our digital LEQ. My name is Isaiah. Also worked on this with my partners Marvin and Richard. Today's topic will be the Columbian Exchange and the Americas. So the big idea is to keep in mind while watching this video, what was the Columbian Exchange and why was it important? How did the Columbian Exchange impact populations? And how was the Columbian Exchange beneficial to the Americas? Take the time to pause the video and think about these on your own. The answers to the question will be revealed at the end. So our thesis statement. The old world was heavily impacted by the Columbian Exchange, with such examples as the frequently fatal disease syphilis, and crops such as potatoes, tomatoes, and even tobacco. Tobacco being very quickly adopted by the Europeans and consumption increasing dramatically. However, with the transfer of more influential livestock, epidemic diseases, and millions of slaves added in the mix, the Columbian Exchange was more impactful for the Americas than for the East. So some contextualization on this topic. From 1450 to 1750, the Columbian Exchange was very impactful. Transportation of crops, foods, plants, animals, and slaves made a huge dent, which leads us to the modern world. Many crops such as coffee beans, sugarcane, bananas, etc. allowed for us to make the foods we love today. Coffee as well. Slaves made a big dent as well because it allowed for business such as making sugar, tobacco, and rice to open up and flourish very well. Diseases also impacted the New World. Many natives died from diseases like smallpox, measles, malaria, and typhus. The diseases reduced their numbers and made it easier for colonists to colonize and take land away from the Native Americans. So, what was the Columbian Exchange? The Columbian Exchange was the exchange of diseases, ideas, food, crops, population, and technology. The goods were exchanged from the Old World to the New World and vice versa. Exchange of goods has led to many cultural developments to be born. On the right, we have two pictures, the one on top showing the trade routes between the Old World and the New World, and the one on the bottom depicting a primary source showcasing the Native Americans and the Europeans. So part one, we're going to livestock. We have some primary sources on the right, one being a painting on the top and a photograph at the bottom. Animals that were traded to the Americas included sheep, pigs, horses, cattle, things like that. They were very rapidly adopted by the natives for transport, food, and other uses. Horses being very important, as you can see in both of the pictures. They changed how the Americas went about hunting, agriculture, and expanded their territories as well. These animals being brought into the New World changed the lives of Native American tribes and even transferred to a nomadic lifestyle. So, part two, we're getting into diseases. We have a quote from one of our sources, A History of Disease, Food, and Ideas. And it states, before the invasion of peoples of the New World by pathogens that evolved among inhabitants of the Old World, Native Americans lived in a relatively disease-free environment. So diseases, there were a great number of infectious diseases that spread. Smallpox, measles, malaria, typhus, like said before. Um, the Europeans came in contact with the natives, and that caused the diseases to spread because the natives were not immune to these diseases, while the Europeans were. Um, it's estimated that 80 to 95% of the Native American population was decimated in the first 100 and 150 years following 1492. So that's a great amount of depopulation. With the major depopulation from diseases in the Americas, it shows how the environmental impact on the Americas was very severe. So, smaller section here: crops, foods, and plants. Um, there's a picture at the bottom that shows what was traded between the old world and the new world. You can see things such as tobacco, sweet potatoes, peppers, potatoes, tomatoes, corn, things like that going to Europe, Asia, and Africa, and diseases, livestock, grains, honeybees, bananas, coffee beans going over to the Americas. And there were many, yeah, you can see there were many goods using livestock came in and out of the New World, and some of these crops have made money. Part four, we have slavery. Slaves were a big part of how the Americas were impacted by the Columbian Exchange. Slaves were taken from the Old World and transported to the New World, and one boat packed them by the thousands. You can see a picture here depicting how the slaves were transported in the boats. Here we have a journal entry. It says, "When I looked around the ship too and saw a large furnace of copper boiling, and a multitude of black people in every description chained together, every one of their countenances expressing dejection and sorrow, I no longer doubted of my fate, and quite overpowered with horror and anguish, I fell motionless on the deck and fainted. I asked if we were not to be eaten by those white men with horrible looks, red faces, and long hair." And we also have another primary source. This is depicting a sugar plantation. Many plantations were ran by slaves. They planted cash crops that generated money. These things are sugar, as I just said, tobacco plantations as well, um, and rice plantations that the slaves worked in that would be able to generate this money. One of our situation point of view, this is one of our sources from a book, History of Disease, Food, and Ideas. We saw before in the diseases slide. This source is helpful in identifying what things went from the old world to the new world, and this source identifies how crops led to modern products that people buy today, such as sugar and coffee. In our third situation point of view, this is from another article. The source provides us visual presentation of a tobacco plantation, how they were ran by slaves. The source states sugar, rice, and tobacco were profitable. Therefore, many bought slaves to make money on cash crops. Of course, we also have to connect this to our AP World Modern History themes. One of the themes that connects with our topic is Theme 1, Humans and the Environment, because the populations change as a result of certain exchanges, especially disease, because of the whole depopulation with the Native American. And also a very important one, Theme 4, Economic Systems, because the new and old worlds were affected by the trades and exchanges that were made throughout the Columbian Exchange. So back to our big ideas. See what we learned from this video in conclusion. What was the Columbian Exchange and why was it important? The answer is, so it could have been, the Columbian Exchange was a collective transfer of goods, diseases, etc. between the old and new world. It was important in providing these places with new items to use and led to many developments. Number two, how did the Columbian Exchange impact populations? An answer could have been, epidemic diseases transferred through the Columbian Exchange, resulting in a major decline in Native American population. And the last one, how was the Columbian Exchange beneficial to the Americas? An answer could have been, it was beneficial by providing the Americas with various crops and livestock, which changed their lives for the better. And here we have our sources that we use for all our information. And that concludes our digital LEQ. Thank you for watching this video. And we will see you whenever, I guess. Thanks, Mr. Whalen. Bye.